Have you noticed that he stopped saying, "I love you"? The words that used to flow easily now seem to have disappeared. What happens to a relationship when those feelings turn into silence? Often, what goes unsaid is just as impactful as what is verbalized. It's an emotional iceberg, where the visible part is just a fraction of what's really happening underneath. The absence of those loving words can stem from a variety of reasons. He might be going through personal struggles, dealing with insecurities, or simply not knowing how to express what he feels. The fear of opening up or being vulnerable can create a block that prevents honest communication. The result is a heavy silence, a feeling that something essential has been lost along the way. Emotional silence often creates space for misunderstandings. You might start to wonder if he still cares, if the shared experiences have lost their value. In this communication vacuum, insecurity can grow, feeding doubts about the love that once felt so solid. It's a spiral that can lead to misunderstandings and distancing, where each person feels more alone, even when physically close. As time goes by, the silence can turn into a vicious cycle. The lack of expressions of affection may be perceived as disinterest, and as you feel less valued, you might end up closing off even more, creating barriers that make reconnection difficult. What began as a simple absence of words becomes an emotional chasm that seems increasingly hard to cross. The truth is that love isn't limited to words. It manifests in gestures, in glances, in the little things of everyday life. However, without verbal reinforcement, these signs can be interpreted as insufficient. It's as if a vital component is missing, reducing the relationship to a mere exercise in routine. What could be a vibrant partnership turns into a colorless coexistence. Recognizing the importance of communication is crucial. An open dialogue about what's happening can be the first step towards understanding each other's emotions. It takes courage to address the topic, to expose the vulnerabilities and the silences that weigh heavily. This act of vulnerability can be the thread that reconnects both individuals, bringing to light feelings that were hidden beneath the surface. If he refuses to open his heart, it may be necessary to look inward and evaluate one's own emotional needs. Love should not be a burden. It should be a safe space where both can grow. If words of affection have been replaced by silence, it may be time to reassess what is desired from this relationship and whether this love still meets one's needs. The day he stopped saying, "I love you," could be a turning point. It is an opportunity to reflect on what love means in each person's life. This silence may be a call to action, an invitation to explore what remains unspoken, and perhaps to discover that words can still hold the power to unite. When words of love become scarce, the dynamics of the relationship can change drastically. Often, the absence of these expressions can lead to a state of disconnection, where each person starts to live in their own emotional world. Communication, which should be a foundational pillar of the relationship, weakens. This misalignment can create an environment of distrust, where the small daily actions are not enough to fill the void left by the absence of verbal affirmation. One of the most common consequences is doubt. You may find yourself questioning whether love is still present, whether he still values what you've built together. This uncertainty can manifest in various ways, ranging from mild anxiety to a profound sense of insecurity. It's a process that can be exhausting, both emotionally and mentally. What was once a source of joy and comfort becomes a minefield of assumptions and fears. Additionally, the lack of dialogue can trigger defensive behavior. When one partner feels threatened by the absence of communication, the tendency is to build emotional barriers for self-protection. This can lead to disproportionate reactions to everyday situations. Small complaints can escalate into big arguments, while the true source of the problem remains ignored. This lack of clarity in interactions creates a vicious cycle of resentment. The truth is that without a willingness to talk, frustrations pile up. It's easy to assume that the other person should know how you feel, but that expectation is unrealistic. Each person has their own ways of expressing love and affection, and the absence of mutual understanding can lead to more emotional distance. Without clear communication, intentions can be misinterpreted, and what could be an opportunity for joint growth turns into a trap of misunderstandings. In this scenario, empathy becomes crucial. Both partners need to make an effort to understand what the other is going through. The ability to listen and validate each other's feelings is an important step towards rebuilding the connection. This doesn't mean you should accept harmful behaviors, but it is necessary to acknowledge the internal struggles each person faces. Sometimes the person who seems distant may be dealing with personal issues that affect their ability to open up emotionally. A direct approach may be the best solution. Instead of waiting for them to take the initiative to talk, you can step forward and address the situation. Choosing a calm moment where both can talk without interruptions is essential. Explaining how the lack of words of love affects you can be a starting point. Talking about your feelings without blaming but sharing your insecurities can help create a safe space for him to feel comfortable expressing himself as well. It's important to remember that such a conversation should be approached with care. The goal is not to put the other person on the defensive, but rather to create a space of mutual vulnerability. By exposing your feelings, you are giving him a chance to open up too. This exchange might be what you need to revive the emotional connection between you. However, you need to be prepared for the possibility that he may not respond the way you expect. Sometimes silence can indicate that the other person is not ready to face their own feelings. In this case, it's essential to keep an open mind and understand that everyone has their own timeline for processing emotions. If he struggles to express what he feels, it doesn't diminish the value you bring to the relationship. The relationship should be a space for mutual growth where both partners feel secure enough to share their vulnerabilities. If communication remains stagnant, it may be necessary to consider whether both of your emotional needs are being met. A lack of verbal affection can be a symptom of deeper issues that need to be addressed. If previous attempts at communication have failed, seeking the help of a professional like a couples therapist can be beneficial. A therapist can facilitate dialogue, helping to identify patterns of behavior that hinder communication. Sometimes the presence of a third party can help ease the tension and provide a safe environment for both partners to express themselves without fear of judgment. What may seem like an insurmountable obstacle could turn out to be an opportunity for rebuilding with the right support. If even with effort silence persists, it's time to reflect on the future of the relationship. Love shouldn't be a constant struggle. If your emotional needs are not being met, it may be necessary to reevaluate what you want from this relationship. The issue isn't just about what's missing, but also about what each person is willing to do to fill that void. Life is short, and happiness should be a priority. Staying stuck in a relationship where communication is sparse and feelings are not expressed can lead to significant emotional wear and tear. Therefore, have the courage to move on if necessary. Silence can be a sign that it's time to seek a new path, to open yourself up to new possibilities and experiences that might bring joy and genuine love into your life. In the end, what truly matters is the ability to love and be loved. The absence of words doesn't define love, but a lack of communication can obscure the beauty it can bring. It's an invitation for you to seek clarity, not just in your relationship but also in your own heart, and that regardless of the path you choose, you pursue what you truly deserve. When communication becomes scarce, the first step is to look inward and understand your own emotions. What do you really want from a relationship? What are your expectations regarding the partnership? Often a lack of dialogue reflects not only what the other person is experiencing, but also what you are not expressing. It's fundamental not just to wait for the other to open up, but also to allow yourself to be vulnerable. This self-reflection can bring clarity about your emotional needs. You may realize that, alongside words of love, you seek attention, affection, and recognition. It is essential for you to know what you need to feel valued and respected. That way, when you talk to your partner, you'll have insights about yourself which can facilitate communication. Additionally, it's important to recognize that the absence of verbal love may not be intentional. Often, people become so wrapped up in their own struggles that they forget to express affection. This doesn't mean they don't care. Rather, they might be battling their own inner demons. Understanding this can foster empathy and help soften the impact of silence. In some cases, communication issues may be tied to patterns learned in childhood. If your partner didn't have a healthy model of emotional expression in their life, they might struggle to verbalize their feelings. Understanding this dynamic can make the conversation more constructive, instead of turning it into a battleground. When addressing the situation, you might introduce the idea that both of you have the opportunity to learn and grow together. On the other hand, it's important to be aware of signs that the relationship may not be healthy. If communication is constantly blocked and vulnerability is rejected, it might indicate that your partner is not willing to invest emotionally. Sometimes it's necessary to make a tough choice and prioritize your emotional well-being. If you notice that your attempts to connect don't lead to progress, it may be time to consider whether this relationship truly meets your needs. Life is too short to stay in a relationship that doesn't bring joy. You deserve a partner who is willing to open up, communicate, and work together to build a healthy love. This doesn't mean that the relationship can't be saved, but both parties must be willing to put in the effort. If one side isn't investing in communication, the relationship can become unsustainable. One option to consider is seeking couples therapy. The presence of a professional can help uncover issues that aren't easily addressed between you. A therapist can provide a safe space where both of you can feel comfortable sharing your perspectives without fear of judgment. This can be especially helpful if there are past hurts or patterns of behavior that make dialogue difficult. Another effective strategy is to establish communication rituals. This can include regular moments where you come together to discuss what's happening without interruptions and distractions. Creating a warm and safe environment for these conversations can help build the trust necessary for both of you to feel comfortable opening up. Using open-ended questions can stimulate conversation and allow you both to share your emotions without feeling attacked. Sometimes, writing about your feelings can be a useful first step. If the idea of directly speaking with your partner seems daunting, start by jotting down your thoughts in a journal. This can help organize your emotions and identify what's really bothering you. You might also consider writing him a letter that clearly and honestly expresses your feelings. This can serve as a starting point for a deeper conversation. It's important to remember that communication isn't just about what is said, but also about how it's said. Tone, body language, and the willingness to listen are crucial elements. When communicating, try to maintain a neutral and welcoming tone. Avoid accusations and focus on how you feel. This can help avoid defensiveness and promote a more productive dialogue. Additionally, be open to hearing their concerns. Communication should be a two-way street, and it's essential for both of you to feel that your voices are heard. When you create a space where they can also share their struggles, it can help build a deeper understanding between you. This exchange of vulnerabilities can indeed strengthen the emotional connection. If, after all efforts, the situation doesn't improve, it's crucial to reevaluate the relationship. Life consists of cycles, and sometimes the love that was once strong can evolve into something that no longer meets your needs. This is not a failure, but an opportunity for growth. The most important thing is that you don't lose sight of what you deserve in a relationship. Finally, remember that true love is built on communication, respect, and empathy. If words of love aren't being spoken, but the relationship is still nourished by respect and understanding, there may still be hope. However, if silence becomes oppressive and attempts at communication are consistently ignored, it's time to consider your own well-being. You deserve a love that is fully lived, where words flow freely and silences are not heavy, but rather spaces for reflection and connection. Whatever direction you choose, do it with the understanding that prioritizing your emotional health is paramount. Love should be a source of joy and growth, not a burden. And regardless of what happens, you will always have the capacity to love and be loved. When words of love become scarce, it's important to analyze the situation with clarity. Each of us has our own experiences and traumas that shape how we relate to one another. Communication is a skill that can be developed, and a lack of it is not necessarily a sign that love has ended. It may simply be a phase in which both partners feel vulnerable and unsure of how to open up to each other. It is crucial to understand that communication extends beyond just words. Gestures, touches, and facial expressions also carry significant weight in a relationship. However, when verbal communication falls short, it feels as though an essential part of the connection is missing. Each frustrated attempt to express feelings can lead to frustration and disillusionment. To turn this situation around, both partners need to make an effort to open new channels of dialogue. An effective strategy is to create intentional conversation moments. Set aside specific time where both of you can sit down and discuss not only what bothers you, but also what you appreciate about each other. This can help alleviate the pressure that often comes with deeper conversations. The goal is to create an environment where both feel safe and comfortable, sharing their emotions without fear of judgment. Often, Silent emotions are not just issues of a lack of verbal love, but also of internal insecurities. Insecurity can lead to a cycle of silence and distancing, where each person feels unable to take the first step. Therefore, it is essential to work not only on communication between you, but also on self-understanding. Ask yourself what you truly desire. What are your expectations regarding the relationship? This can help clarify what you want to discuss with your partner. The act of opening up is a two-way street. Just as you want him to share his feelings, it's important that you also show your vulnerabilities. This can help break the ice and encourage the other person to open up. This space of vulnerability can be crucial for the recovery of a relationship that seems to be drifting apart. If, after several attempts, communication is still stalled, it may be necessary to reevaluate what this means for you. Sometimes the other person's reluctance to open up may be a sign that they are not ready for the level of commitment you desire. This doesn't mean you should feel devalued. Rather, it's time to consider your own emotional needs. The value you bring to a relationship is undeniable. Therefore, you should not stay stuck in a situation where your needs are not being met. When a partner feels uncomfortable opening up, it can reflect their own internal struggles. Instead of assuming it's something personal, try to look at the situation from a broader perspective. What might be happening in his life that is hindering communication? Additionally, family dynamics and past experiences can directly influence how individuals communicate in a relationship. If he grew up in an environment where vulnerability was not valued, he may have difficulty opening up. This understanding can help soften the approach you choose to address the situation. Couples therapy can be a valuable resource in this context. A professional can help mediate conversations and provide a safe space for both of you to explore your emotions. Often, the presence of a mediator can facilitate discussions that would be difficult to have alone. The therapist can help identify behavioral patterns that are hindering communication and offer new tools for both parties to learn how to express themselves more effectively. Additionally, establishing communication rituals such as weekly meetings to discuss feelings can help create a structure that encourages openness. This provides dedicated time for both to share their experiences and concerns, free from external distractions. This practice can help build a sense of security and trust over time. If, despite efforts, the situation does not improve, it is crucial to make a decision based on what is best for you. You should not be in a relationship that does not meet your emotional needs. This does not mean that love has ended, but it can be a sign that it's time to reevaluate the relationship and consider other possibilities. Life is short and should be lived with joy and authenticity. If communication has become a burden, you deserve a love that flows naturally, where words are spoken with ease and silences are moments of comfort, not tension. The decision to stay or move on should be based on your happiness and well-being. Ultimately, it's important to remember that you always have the power to shape your experiences. If dialogue isn't flowing as it should, use this as an opportunity for personal growth. Each interaction can be a chance to learn more about yourself and what you truly value in a relationship. Love should be a source of strength and growth, and when it isn't, it's time to seek what truly brings joy and fulfillment. When words of love become rare, it's essential to understand that the relationship doesn't have to be defined solely by their absence. Often, a lack of communication may be rooted in past experiences that affect one or both partners' ability to express themselves. Each of us carries an emotional history that influences how we relate to others, which can be a decisive factor in the current dynamic. It's important to recognize that communication is not limited to what is said, but also to what is felt. True connection goes beyond words. It resides in the small interactions of daily life. Eye contact, touch, and mutual attention are elements that sustain a healthy relationship. While verbalizing love is fundamental, a lack of it doesn't necessarily mean that feelings have disappeared. There may be an internal struggle preventing the person from opening up. Emotional insecurity is a significant villain in situations like this. If you feel insecure about your partner's feelings, it's natural to start questioning the value you bring to the relationship. This kind of thinking can create a negative cycle, where insecurity leads to more silence, and silence in turn increases insecurity. To break this cycle, it's crucial for both partners to strive to understand their own emotions and each other's. One direct approach to this situation is dialogue. You might ask yourself, how can I start a conversation that isn't confrontational? Approaching the topic gently and empathetically can open doors for your partner to also feel secure, sharing what they're feeling. Sometimes a simple, "I feel like things have changed between us," can be the necessary trigger for them to open up. Tone matters, and the intention should be to seek understanding, not to blame. Patience is required. Changes in communication don't happen overnight. Building a trusting relationship takes time and effort. You may be surprised to find that your partner also misses the words of love, but is struggling with their own difficulties in expressing them. This realization can create a space of unity where both of you feel closer and more willing to face challenges together. When addressing the silence, a useful strategy is to ask directly about their emotions. Questions like, "How do you feel when we can't communicate like we used to?" can encourage a deeper conversation. This type of question not only shows that you care, but also gives them a chance to reflect on their own feelings. Being willing to listen without judgment is crucial for healthy communication. It's equally important to pay attention to their reactions. If they show resistance or discomfort during the conversation, it may indicate that they are not yet ready to explore those emotions. In that case, respecting their time frame is essential. Forcing a conversation can lead to more closure. Sometimes people need some time to process their own feelings before they feel comfortable sharing them. Creating a safe environment for these discussions can be vital. Choosing a calm moment away from distractions can facilitate dialogue. A peaceful atmosphere can help both of you feel more at ease to open up. Additionally, establishing a space where vulnerability is welcome can help strengthen the emotional connection between you. Furthermore, it might be helpful to reflect on what you truly want from a relationship. What do you need to feel valued and loved? Questions like these can help clarify your expectations and steer the conversation toward a more constructive path. When you have clarity about what you need, it becomes easier to communicate your needs to your partner. The lack of verbal expressions of love can be a sign that something deeper needs to be addressed. If silence prevails, it's time to consider whether both of your emotional needs are being met. You may notice that even in the absence of loving words, there are other forms of affection and support still present. Evaluating the relationship as a whole, rather than just focusing on what's missing, can help in finding a new path. If, after several attempts, silence persists, it may be necessary to reassess the relationship. Ask yourself if you're willing to remain in a situation that doesn't satisfy you. Sometimes the courage to move on is what you need to seek a love that truly meets your needs. Love should be a source of joy, and if it is becoming a source of pain, it might be time to reflect on the continuity of the relationship. Seeking couples therapy can be an effective solution. Professionals can help mediate difficult discussions and promote healthy communication. They provide a neutral space where both can feel comfortable expressing their emotions without fear of reprisal. Additionally, a therapist can offer tools for you to learn how to communicate more clearly and effectively. Establishing communication rituals, such as weekly or monthly meetings, can be a healthy practice. These moments can be dedicated not only to discussing problems, but also to celebrating the joys and accomplishments of the relationship. This creates a space for mutual recognition and celebration of what's positive, promoting a balance between challenges and victories. Finally, remember that communication is a skill that can be improved. It doesn't come naturally to everyone, and practice leads to improvement. If both parties are willing to put in the effort, it's possible to create a healthier, more fulfilling relationship. The absence of loving words doesn't have to be the end. It can be a new beginning. If silence persists and attempts at communication fail to produce change, reflecting on your own emotional needs becomes even more crucial. You should ask yourself if it's possible to live in a relationship where communication is scarce. Life is short and should be lived with authenticity and joy. Prioritizing your emotional well-being is always the best choice, regardless of the path you choose to take. When loving words become rare, it's essential to focus on what's really happening in the relationship. Lack of verbal communication is not just a sign of disinterest, it may reflect the emotional challenges both partners are facing. It's common for one partner to go through phases where they feel less able to express themselves, whether due to personal issues, stress, or simply the routine that dulls the intensity of feelings. It's vital to recognize that many external factors can affect one's ability to communicate. Work pressures, family problems, or health issues can create a barrier that prevents the expression of affection. Evaluating the context in which the relationship develops can provide a new perspective on the situation. Ask yourself, is he dealing with something that may be impacting his emotional availability? This analysis can be the first step in understanding the silence. Furthermore, the way you communicate can influence how the other person feels. If you often express frustration or discontent, he may feel discouraged from sharing his own feelings. The way conversations are conducted carries significant weight. Communication is not just about what is said, but how it is expressed. Try to approach the topic in a more positive and open manner. This can create an environment where he feels more comfortable opening up. Active listening is an important skill to develop. When you commit to listening without interrupting or formulating responses while the other person is speaking, it shows that you value what he has to say. This type of interaction can help build a safer space for both of you to share your emotions. When a partner feels that their words are valued, they are more likely to feel motivated to open up. If communication isn't flowing, it might be helpful to explore other forms of expression. Sometimes, writing can be an effective way to communicate feelings. You might consider writing a letter to your partner, expressing your emotions clearly and honestly. This allows you to organize your thoughts and feelings before sharing, making the conversation less intimidating. When writing, try to be direct, focusing on how the absence of loving words affects you. Explain that you are not trying to blame him, but rather wish to understand what is happening between you. This approach can open doors to a more productive conversation. It's possible that he hasn't realized how silence has affected the dynamic of your relationship. Another aspect to consider is the time each of you dedicates to the relationship. Modern routines often consume the time we could spend together, resulting in emotional disconnection. You can assess whether both of you are dedicating the necessary time to nurture the relationship. Quality moments together, whether it's a dinner, a walk, or even a quiet conversation, can rejuvenate the connection. Establishing regular communication rituals can be an effective strategy. This doesn't mean it has to be formal. Rather, it's about setting aside time for both of you to share your experiences and feelings. This practice can help build a solid foundation of trust and openness. By creating a space where you come together to discuss not only problems, but also joys, you can strengthen the bond. It's important to pay attention to the signals he may give, such as facial expressions or changes in behavior. These little cues can indicate how he is coping with the situation. If you notice he seems more distant or anxious, it may suggest that there are deeper issues that need to be addressed. Careful observation can help you better understand the dynamic between you two. If attempts to communicate do not lead to progress, it's essential to consider seeking external help. A couple's therapist can facilitate dialogue and help identify patterns that hinder communication. Often, the presence of a professional can create a neutral space where both of you feel comfortable expressing your concerns without fear of backlash. This can be especially helpful in situations where past hurts or emotional difficulties are present. Therapy provides a supportive environment where each person can explore their emotions and learn to communicate more effectively. The therapist can offer practical tools to help you improve the quality of communication, fostering a deeper understanding between you both. Additionally, therapy can help rekindle the empathy that may have faded over time, encouraging both parties to see each other as allies rather than adversaries. It's also essential to keep your self-esteem in mind. A lack of loving words should not reflect your personal worth. Recognizing what you bring to the relationship is vital. If the silence persists and your attempts to connect are consistently ignored, it may be time to reassess what you need and want from a relationship. You deserve to be valued and loved in a way that makes you feel whole. When communication becomes a burden, it's crucial to prioritize your own emotional well-being. Sometimes, you must choose between staying in a relationship that doesn't meet your needs or seeking a new path. Life is short, and you deserve a love that flows naturally, where words of affection are shared freely, and silence is a space of comfort rather than tension. Ultimately, remember that love should be a source of joy and growth. When loving words become rare, it may signal the need for a change. Evaluating the relationship from a broader perspective and considering what truly matters to you is an important step. True love is built on communication, respect, and empathy, and if the relationship isn't providing that, it's time to seek what you truly deserve. It's common in a relationship for loving words to be replaced by long silences. These silences can create an atmosphere of uncertainty and anxiety. When verbal expressions are no longer present, it's essential to investigate what is genuinely happening between the two of you. Instead of letting frustration take over, it's important to act with intention and clarity. First, consider the possibility that your partner may be facing personal difficulties that aren't directly related to you. Sometimes work stress, family issues, or health concerns can create an emotional barrier. Try to observe any signals they might be sending. This can help you better understand their situation. Ask yourself if they've been showing signs of stress or if they seem more distant than usual. Discussing these matters shouldn't be a confrontational moment, but rather an opportunity for both of you to express yourselves. When sitting down to talk, choose a calm environment free from distractions. This approach can facilitate a more honest conversation where both feel secure enough to share their feelings. It's important that this conversation takes place when you both have enough time to explore everything that needs to be said. During the conversation, focus on how you feel about the silence, avoiding accusations. Explain that you miss the words of love and that this makes you question the relationship. This approach allows them to understand the impact of silence on your life without feeling attacked. Additionally, it could open up space for them to share their own insecurities and difficulties. Another strategy is to ask open-ended questions that encourage a deeper conversation. Instead of asking, "Do you still love me?" which may lead to evasive answers, you might ask, "What's stopping you from expressing your feelings right now?" This type of question allows them to explore their emotions more thoroughly, rather than feeling pressured to provide a quick response. You can also reflect on how the time you spend together is utilized. Quality moments are essential for maintaining emotional connection. If the daily routine is consuming the time you could spend together, consider scheduling regular dates, even if they are brief. These moments can help rejuvenate the relationship and provide opportunities for meaningful conversations. If, after several attempts, communication is still stalled, it may be helpful to seek the assistance of a couples therapist. Professionals have experience in dealing with communication issues and can help identify harmful patterns that hinder dialogue. The presence of a mediator can make conversations more productive and less emotional. This can be especially effective if there are old grievances that need to be addressed. Additionally, it's important to maintain your self-esteem throughout this process. Your partner's silence should not reflect your personal worth. Recognizing what you bring to the relationship is vital. If your attempts to connect do not lead to progress, it may be time to evaluate what you truly desire. You deserve to be in a relationship that meets your emotional needs and allows for mutual growth. Life is too short to stay in a situation that does not bring happiness. If communication continues to be a challenge and verbal love is not being expressed, consider what that means for you. Love should be a source of joy and support, not a burden. Therefore, don't hesitate to seek what you truly deserve, whether within the current relationship or by exploring new possibilities. Before you leave, do two things now. Take a deep breath and hold on to what touched your heart today. And if it makes sense, share this story with someone who also needs to hear it.